What's up, Benchwarmers? We are joined tonight by a very special guest. He comes over from a pair of guys who call themselves lads. But first, my name is Diego, the stat troll. I'm joined tonight by Marco, our crack producer, the interrupter, and we have Kevin J. Pettit on the show. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us, man. We appreciate you.
Wow, thank you so much for having me. This is an honor. I'm really excited to be on the Benchwarmers. This is a big deal. So thank you.
Listen, we are just as in all of the stuff that you guys do, mostly because we get triggered by the stuff that you guys post on your Instagram, and I'm sure that's probably the strategy that you have for posting on social media. But before we get to that, we do want to remind all of our listeners where you can find us. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher by searching Benchwarmers FC. And if you're listening to us, but you'd like to see our ugly mugs, you can watch us where, Marco?
On YouTube at Benchwarmers FC TV.
And you can also write to us by using our email, which is benched@benchwarmersfc.com. All of our socials, as always, they have not changed. And we're still present on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter by searching Benchwarmers FC1. Kevin, we do want to have a moment of respect for your fellow lad because I understand Martin wasn't able to join us tonight, but you represent him wholly, and I'm pretty sure he trusts you with that representation. Would that be correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. With tonight, with his firstborn, with trying to get him home from like the bar. Yeah. Anything that I say, I think I'll get the seal of approval. So no worries there.
Okay, cool. You're definitely going to be like the front facing for Martin. But we do want to ask you, first of all, you run a podcast and a very interestingly run Instagram as well, called Lads, Loud Americans Discussing Soccer. First, I guess I want to ask you, where'd you guys come up with the name? What led you toward using an acronym like Lads?
So when me and Martin were living in our horrible, shitty South Philly apartment, when we were literally living in dirt, when we were coming up with the name for the show together, we went through like the typical, upward 90, the 90th minute. I'm trying to think of other like cliches, the half mark, the pitch. I don't know. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? The cliches of soccer, you run through all the names and we wrote them all down the list. And I was like, I always just loved the term lads. I had spent time in the UK for a 6-month span. And I love the like lads on the sesh, let's go lads and stuff like that. And I was like, how could we make that and steal it from the British? Cause fuck them. So we were just like, I was just like, all right. Cause I knew I was like, all right, Americans. All right. We're going to be like, obviously like very brash and like rude. So we were like loud. And then we were like, and then S was easy because soccer. And we were like, how can we? And then we did discussing, which is kind of a weird word, but we were like, okay, it works. So we wrote that down. We went through all the lists and we're like, this all sucks. Lads sounds the best. It's a good acronym. It's kind of long winded, but you can just shorten it to Lads Podcast. So that's kind of how how it all originated.
I think that's pretty cool. I know you guys were going back and forth on your first episode. You kind of rattled off like more than a dozen different names that you had brainstormed, things about like Wenger's Whipping Boys or something like that, or
yeah. There's definitely a bunch that did not make the drawing room board or whatever the expression is, but yeah, to be honest, we probably came up with this within an hour. Like, it was not a lot of time spent, and we just kind of ran with it because we never thought we would make it. I don't know, 200 plus episodes in. We just kind of thought this was a joke. So to be honest.
Hey, we're glad you made it this far because we do got you on our show, and we know you have very humble origins and beginnings. So you started your podcast, your first episode, that was August 10th, 2017, and you've done quite a few things since. You've had a famously retweet by Men in Blazers. You've interviewed the Cooligans. You've had your own, I guess, hosted events at Tavern on Broad when you did the 2018 UCL final. Between Madrid and Liverpool. You have your own website and blog, like you had mentioned. You have your own writers, which also, well, not your own, because I don't want to make it sound like you own these guys, but you have people that are contributing as well to your blog, which we think is pretty cool. Interviews at Black Sheep Pub over in PA. as well with some of the United guys there, which I appreciate myself. So aside from having all of that and also producing your own coasters, like what are your heights? Like where's your target right now in 2020? Like where do you see lads at?
Yeah, I mean, thank you. That was a great recap of everything we've done. I forgot some of those things, so thank you. That's, I'm at to re-listen to this. So, you got a download right there, my friend. I,
Good.
where's lads going? We've also had like sponsorships and stuff like that. We were part of like a media group, and oh no, like we're just chilling right now. Like the social media is doing well. We're working on some new merchandising and stuff like that. And like it's just I've always just appreciated just the community and like the people you get to meet, like the tons and like hundreds of people I've got to meet through this podcast and through social media and through Twitter and Instagram, stuff like that. That's all been really, really cool. I couldn't, give that up for anything. So, where lads goes from here, I hope up. That'd be cool. If not, like I'm just cool with like the friends and like connections I've made so far. So yeah, it's been really, really just amazing.
That's awesome to hear, especially knowing that I did do my own little bit of looking research, so to speak. So I listened to the episode you guys had with the Hooligans, which I thought was really awesome. How did you guys get to meet those guys?
Yeah, so it was really funny. We had talked about, I guess it was the Banter Bar in Brooklyn before.
Yes.
So I went there and I interviewed another soccer friends of the show, the Full Kit Wankers Pod,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like Andrea and Matt, I think is the other guy. Off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, second half of Full Kit Wankers. I'm not.
It's
Anyway,
okay. He's only representing half of lads, so I'm sure if Martin were here, he would have backed him up. So
yes,
don't
yes,
worry
yes,
about
yes.
it.
But anyway, since they were living in New York, and I guess the Cooligans are also New York comedians, they had made connections before, and they said, "Hey, you should reach out and say you know me and stuff like that." And the Cooligans, I gotta say, those guys are really sweet, nice guys. Like, as soon as I reached out, they were like, "Yeah, yeah, let's set up days." And there was obviously they were a very busy schedule. They have like a TV show, and obviously actually have real guests on their show. I mean, they're massive, and they're really, really their content is incredible and they're very funny. So we had some cancellations and stuff like that. So eventually I just persevered and finally we got a set date and we're able to do I think around like 30 minutes while they were down in I think they were covering the AWS down in Orlando, Florida, or at some training
Correct.
camp. So they had some free time and they were able to get me in for 30 minutes and were very gracious and like they're really cool dudes. So that was a really amazing experience. Definitely I think the biggest guest we've had on Lads so far.
I think that just speaks to, like, I did want to highlight that because I think it speaks to not just how well you guys have done your efforts to get them on, but also it speaks volumes of the Cooligans, which we've run into ourselves, and
Great
for some
guys.
reason they're very much like a recurring theme here. Like Cooligans are definitely doing their work as far as becoming available to other people that are in the same sector, I guess, of footballing podcasts. So I think that's pretty cool. The I guess the next thing is, and I don't want to get too personal, Kevin, but I see the badge on your shirt or sweater. Was there no time to do laundry? Like, did you just have to put something on, or?
Wow. Okay. We're going there. All right. Yes. So I am currently wearing my Arsenal jumper or little crew neck guy I got going on here. But yes, what was the question, like how I became an Arsenal fan or like why I went with these guys who make me sad?
In less
Yeah,
words,
like
yeah.
what went wrong in your life that caused you to?
Well, like most people, you pick your sports teams off your family, whoever your family,
Mm,
like your grandfather or your dad, who they support.
Well,
Depends I feel as though a lot of people might get it from like whoever their family supports. Like I'm an Eagles fan, like my mom's side they're all diehard Philly fans and stuff like that. So for Arsenal, my grandfather had traveled to London back in like the 90s or something like that, or early 2000s, and he was asking around like, hey, who should I support? Like I heard Manchester United is like a very popular team, should I support them? And he was like, a Londoner, and he was like, nah, they're like the Dallas Cowboys of sports, you should choose Arsenal. And as an Eagles fan, it was an easy choice. So I went with him. My grandfather, when I was starting to get into soccer, he's like, pick Arsenal. Don't know why. I like the color red too. So it was, it was a pretty easy. It was a pretty easy choice. They're the Gunners. They're a giant cannon. As a kid, that's cool. I used to play with little army men as a kid. They're sick.
Nice, nice. And we know, well, one of the things that I did like the fact that you did bring up your grandfather and the family ties. I know you have a very strong connection towards I guess some of it. I'm not sure if it's the same one, but I know you have a lot of pictures of a grandfather that you had shared during the war and stuff like that, while they were in Vietnam, while they were stationed, and so that's someone that's very very dear to you. So if that's the same one, I think
It
that's
is
a very
actually, yes, that is.
that's I think that's a very valid I think that's a very valid reason. Marco, on the other hand, doesn't have something as honorable as that.
I know at all.
The honoring the memory of his late grandfather and stuff.
Well, no, not with Arsenal.
That's fair. You picked them. Like, I'm stuck. Like, there's maybe still time for you, so like you can get out if you need to.
Oh
But
no, I'm deep in.
we're heading in some good direction, I think, right now.
I think we are.
Cool.
I think we are.
Cool. I'll pick your brain on the direction that they're going in right now. But I guess since I don't want to make it look like I'm picking on you, I know some of the things that you also have done. You've started and created almost 4 podcasts of your own. I know your latest endeavor is My Roaring 20s, which I think was a very interesting project that you just started rolling out. So is this is podcasting just something that's like your passion, or is it about sharing or speaking with people? Can you tell us a little bit more about like this hobby that it looks like you really spent a lot of time into it?
Yeah. So Lads was my first. You always remember your first, and I've kind of like hopped around in different endeavors. I did like a video game one with like my best friend, and he kind of went off and like did his own thing with that because I wasn't like involved. I mean, because the podcast is a lot of work. People think they can just hop in and just like make one and then you're done. You just talk.
Absolutely.
And people don't realize like there's actually like not to sound all neckbeardy right now, but it is a lot of work to like go in and like do and try and be successful with like podcasting. And then my most recent project that I've done besides Lads is My Roaring 20s, and it was a much different, obviously, because soccer, I'm drinking and cursing and yelling about this, and this was a more personal thing. It was like my own like little passion project that I wanted to do. I was in a very different headspace at the time, like emotionally and my relationships, and I felt like it was a really nice time. And I don't know if I will follow up with My Roaring 20s. Had great response from people who did listen to it and stuff like that, which I was very appreciative of. But I made a lot of mistakes on the way during that project as well, which I'd want to fix if I did do a season 2 or whatever. But it was nice. I got to talk about like sex and relationships and marriage and stuff that people are facing now in their 20s, and it'd be interesting to talk about it now with like COVID and stuff going on affecting people's lives. So but yeah, that was a very fun project, and I like podcasts because it gives an outlet to people to communicate. It's like the new radio. It's a way for people to communicate and like consume media in I feel it's a more real, vulnerable sense. So
I like that. I like that take a lot because it definitely just the way you carry yourself on the work that you do and the stuff that we see, at least on the front end for Lads, you can tell that it's something that you put a lot of care into, at least, or dedicate a lot of time to. So I guess a few other things about yourself. Can you tell us about Do a Trick, the movie? Can you tell us about that?
You found Do a Trick? Yeah. So that wasn't my first movie I made. I actually made a horror movie, which was really, really bad back in the day. I'll have to send that to you guys. It's called Weird Activity instead of Paranormal Activity. And me and my friends were super baked in my mom's house, and we just made like a horror movie with my bad camera. It was a great time. It was just
Nice.
like it was done in like all in one take, and it was
nice.
But anyway, Do a Trick was a BMX movie. I had a skate park in my backyard. I used to ride BMX, me and my buddies in South Jersey and Philly and all over the Northeast. We traveled a little bit. But Do a Trick, the name of the movie, was when you used to ride around in like the hood and like Philly and Temple and stuff like that. All the kids would be yelling around, do a trick, do a trick, do a trick. And it was just very funny. It was just, very funny. We do like a bunny hop or a 180 or like whatever. We could do anything, like hop up a curb, and everyone loses their mind. And so that was kind of inspiration for that. But wow, man, you did your research.
I mean, not to say anything, but Diego is known as Sean Evans, the Spanish version.
No, I was gonna say you are the hot ones. You are doing your research.
Yeah, he is Sean Evans, the Spanish version.
Listen, I mean, I think it's cool because you learn a lot. You learn a lot from people, and what I'm trying to say here is like we don't want this to be like a hollow interview. Like, hey, how are you doing today? What's your favorite food?
Yeah,
what's your favorite color?
Is way better. This is way better already.
Yeah, well, listen, as long as you're comfortable talking about like your personal experiences, which we feel like, or at least I'm a big believer of on the bench, it's a part of sharing your voice because that also carries over into the work that you do for lads as well. So I think it's cool, especially people that get to know your experiences. So do it, Trick. I thought that was pretty cool. I watched it. I'll be honest. I watched it.
Did you like the soundtrack was like pretty much my high school soundtrack, all that like punk and like Title Fight and Joyce Manor. Like, had some Me Without You. I sometimes listen back to it because I'll forget about some artists that I was really into in high school and be like, oh, and that's when I was in high school when I made that, like I wanted to go to film school for the longest time. So maybe that's why I'm into media now and like podcasting stuff. I always had like this knack for like film and media and editing. And like, I was a social media coordinator for a while here in Boston. I work now as a sales analyst for another company, but I've always had a big knack for like creativity and, content creation. So, damn, you did your research, man. I am impressed.
I mean, it's only the beginning because I was gonna say if you're hiding under your orange beanie, if you're still legally blonde or not.
Wow, you got me. I was blonde. That was during the time that I was in a very dark place in Philly. Martin had left me, so like, and you would think I would get better after that, but no. I was living alone in Philly, and I had like dyed my hair and like was I had friends checking in on me like, hey, like, because that's the key. It's like girls cut their bangs, guys dye their hair blonde. So like that's like they're in like a very dark place. But awesome. Actually, I guess like this is a podcast, but this is on YouTube. I don't know if people can see, but if you look at my Pennsylvania ID, it's still blonde.
Hey,
it's still
nice.
So yeah, that's right, man.
I know. Yeah, it was a time, and then Martin ultimately, my co-host, shaved my head when I went to go visit him for New Year's. So there's a video of that where we announced when we finally passed 100,000 downloads. So it was kind of like, what would be funny, but it looks really scary if you watch the video. It looks like it looks like a terrorist video, like I'm in like like I'm a hostage. It doesn't look flattering whatsoever.
Oh man. Oh, I mean, I think that kind of explains it because I know you have I could be treading into maybe rougher waters here, but I know you've had quite a particular affinity with 50/50, with the movie 50/50. Did that have any kind of connection with it at all?
Oh, the Joseph Gordon-Levitt joint. Yeah, I do love that movie. Wow. No, I don't think so. But it was more of just us getting wasted, and usually something dumb happens. And there's many times in our horrible apartment in South Philly where me and Martin used to live, where we'd like smoke cigs inside. There was people bringing animals in. It was a wild time, like people eating rotisserie chickens just for fun. And I had shaved Martin's head before, and it was kind of like his payback for it. But that is a good shout. 50/50 is, I feel as though, underrated. That's a great film.
It is a very underrated film because it's probably, I think it very much marked like a JGL heyday that people were starting to get tired of him after all the rom-coms. So even though it could be considered a rom-com, a lot of people just think of it as like just a funny movie, but it has its moments. And so I thought maybe the shaving the head thing with JGL, doing that with Seth Rogen's ball trimmers, maybe that was the inspiration for it. But I guess you just have a particular liking, which is cool. I like the movie too. You have traveled a bit, and you were talking a little bit about being in the UK. So I know you've had experiences in Munich. You've been to Greece. You've been to Italy. You've been quite a bit around the world, and I think it might be attributed to one thing. So I'll let you get to it. I know that yourself and Martin have a very tight bond because of VMI. So would you mind explaining a little bit about your experience at VMI?
I would love to. I feel for a lot of people, they've recently heard that the Virginia Military Institute, or VMI, has been in the news recently,
Mm.
and has hit major headlines, especially because we've had Civil War statues, and our recent superintendent had to be let go because of a racism scandal going within the Corps of Cadets of like systematic racism and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about me and Martin's time at VMI. Yeah, so we went to a military academy in the South. And if you listen to me and Martin, you would never in a billion years think that we would attend such a place for how we act and behave. But no, like it was that's where I met Martin. We were, as freshmen, they call us rats. So we were both rats
Yes.
together in the same company. We had to shave our heads, get yelled at, hazed at, whatever you guys want to make of that. You can use your own imagination. And then we ended up living together for the following 3 years there. And that's where like the bond for soccer and us sneaking in alcohol into barracks, which was not illegal, but against the rules. And we'd sneak in and play FIFA all night and get drunk in barracks and scream at each other about like, Eden Hazard's overrated and, Theo Walcott is going to be the next, this is back in like 2014, 15. So,
Yeah.
But it was a very interesting time in our lives. I mean, we were both looking to go commission into the military. Martin was National Guard. He had gone through boot camp. Actually, he had gone through the National Guard and done basic training. I was doing the normal ROTC route, and then I decided not against the military, just personally, like I knew I wouldn't want to do that, so I opted out in like my senior year. Martin was medically disqualified because of his back, so we both went down the civilian route. And just continued to be, just a normal cadet at the Virginia Military Institute, wearing our uniform, shining our shoes every day, and just being, good old boys in the South.
I think one of the things that I think I really appreciated about that is that I think people should know that it's not just lads. It's like the two best lads that you could possibly find got together and decided, listen, let's make a footy podcast. And like in most cases, I don't want to trash on other podcasts because the idea can strike at any moment. But I think it gives you guys a very particular, I guess, weight to your bond because you guys are like the lads. You are like best buddies, and you've gone through a lot. You've lived through a lot. And obviously you're telling us that you even went on a downslope whenever Martin wasn't near you, which we think is a very, I think it's a very cute idea. I don't know if Marco feels the same about any of us, but
no. I get a breather every time I'm away from you guys.
There's just a huge sigh that gets let out.
Bro, I think I'm the butt of the joke sometimes, so I get bullied a lot.
Hey man, I'm right there with you. I'm part of that group. I'm usually like, shut the fuck up, Kevin. I'm like, all right.
No, I wish they said that. No, they come up with other stuff. I'm in the middle of bullying with Eric right now because I know that the next episodes he has something ready for me. So I'm just waiting for it.
Eric's been gunning on Marco for his take on James Rodriguez at Everton, so he's not letting him live that down, unfortunately.
Ooh, I would love. I know we're gonna get to that later for the footy talk, but I would love to speak some Everton because it's
okay. It's like a hell of a conversation.
Good.
It's getting interesting there, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my next thing I want to preface before I ask the next question, I would like to remind you of the VMI honor code that states. A cadet will not lie, cheat, steal, nor tolerate those who
do.
So can you confirm for me that United is a better team than Arsenal FC?
Wow.
We can still plead the fifth, man.
I mean, there you go. But in this case, I don't think you have to.
Yeah, well, you're asking me, is Ollie's job on the line? Like, what are you asking me? Are you saying that, like, Ollie will be sacked the next day? Then Man United roll right through us. If you're saying it's a normal day of the week, then I think Arsenal has it.
Oh, okay. I like the confidence. You sound like, I know you have a lot of very colorful tattoos. And what I don't know, and what I would like to ask you, do you have an Arsenal tattoo?
I do have an Arsenal tattoo. It is on my back right calf. It is a very like fraternity kind of tattoo. Like out of all my other tattoos, like it is traditional. All my tattoos are American traditional. But I do have an Arsenal tattoo, and I just kind of like gave like the logo to like this artist in Philly, and I said, hey, like, just make it American traditional looking. So if you looked it from a distance, unless you're like, if I'm out on like a pitch playing with like some friends here in Boston, they would know what it is because they're soccer fans. But like the normal like they just be like, oh, that's a sick cannon. Like you wouldn't think that, like it doesn't say like Arsenal FC or anything like that. It just has like kind of like the 125th anniversary Arsenal kit with like the what's those weird Roman like braille things around, or not braille, like
There's a name for it. I know what you're talking about.
Like these things, like around, like, you know, like around
Yes,
the
yes.
what are those? I don't know.
Yeah.
Reefs, yes. Sorry. But yeah, I do have an Arsenal tattoo. I have a lot of tattoos. I have some bad tattoos, but I have some good ones too.
Yeah. Oh, can you? Okay. Well, which one? Well, you got to tell us about one of the bad ones. You don't have to. You don't have to state them all. I'm not here to oust you. Just one bad tattoo.
It's my first one. It's always the first one. My first tattoo. I was 18. I drove down from Jersey down to Florida with my best friend. And I was like, all right, I'm 18. I'm going to college in a few months. I'm going to get my first tattoo. Classic road trip, American Pie type story. And I go to a tattoo shop. I know nothing about tattoos. I just go to them. And remember, I told you I was in a BMX crew that traveled. We had sponsors and stuff like that. And our logo was like a wagon wheel. Now this wagon wheel was colored in with like black, had like a black background to it. So I told him to put this on my body, and I'll send you guys a picture. When he got done the wagon wheel, before he did the shading, he's like, "Are you sure you want to do the shading?" I said, "Yes." So he shaded it all in, and now it just looks like a giant grapefruit. It does not look like a wagon wheel. It just looks like citrus. It just looks like citrus. I've also heard people say it looks like pieces of pizza with dipping sauce in the middle. It is not what it's supposed to be. When I tell you, you will do the whole like shoulder shrug, like, oh, yeah, I could see that, a wagon wheel, but not at first glance. So,
I see.
So that was bad.
Yeah, we got to see that. We got to see that. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know if he would have the same, I guess, honesty, Martin. But I know Martin has a few tattoos as well.
Oh, he has a horrible tattoo. I love making fun of him for this. So hopefully we'll get him on for the next time you have us on together. We'll get his schedule fixed up. But he went down to what is it, Palm Beach, Florida for spring break or whatever kids do. And he got a stick figure chair tattooed on his ass.
On his ass, yep. A molded. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's a molded plastic Ames chair.
Yes.
Looking at the shape of the feet, and I was like, man, that's an interesting one.
He just said he got it, so he's always sitting down. Whatever you take from that, I don't know what that means. He came back so stoked about it. I do not know, but I can't talk. I have bad tattoos as well. I can't talk.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, that's a little bit about Martin. I wish you were here, but you've been to a few footy matches, and I think that's a good way to transition into some of the footy talk, because I don't want to make you feel like we're grilling you particularly, or if you're starting to sweat in your jumper. But you've seen Chile, Panama, you've seen Jamaica, Mexico, you've seen Sunderland, Fulham. I'm especially envious about that one. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe what has been your most favorite match day experience?
Oh man, I think it has to be Sunderland versus Fulham for the FA Cup match. That was my first like legitimate like English football match I went to, and it was all more special because I've been studying at Swansea University. My buddy there is born and raised in Sunderland. He ends up being one of my closest friends now. He works for the Sunderland Media Company. His name's James Copley, who's now been a regular guest on the Lads podcast now, and he's a reporter for Sunderland. Was actually in the Sunderland Till I Die documentary. He was in like one of the scenes, which was very cool. He was able to get his hometown tickets, and they were only like £10 or whatever for the tickets, which is crazy for a soccer match in England, let alone an FA Cup match. He got us all decked out with Sunderland jerseys, and we went and stood in the home fans section, and we're singing the song. I learned all the songs by the end, and
nice.
Sunderland ended up winning 3-0, and we were and it's so weird because you can't drink in the stands, so we'd have to pre-drink, as they say over there, not pre-game. And run outside, and you could drink out by like where you buy the alcohol, like where you would go in a normal stadium. You can drink out there, but not in the stands. So everyone's like chugging pints at the halftime. And it's, we're running in, and then like we had to take a bus home that night, and we're all just wasted. We're all off this high of like Sunderland winning, and it was just such a
Nice.
like singing the songs and people going crazy. I have a couple of videos of after they scored a goal, and like a couple of the second half goals came right at us, and it was unbelievable. I wouldn't trade that for the world. Yeah, that was
Awesome.
amazing.
I know that a lot of us, especially Marco and Eric, we would be, Edgar probably too, we'd be especially envious about that,
Oh hell
which
yeah.
I thought was pretty freaking awesome, to see you actually make it to not just a match in the UK, but FA Cup match as well, which, without offending, but for lower tier, I guess, clubs who put a lot into competitions because anyone can win it. I bet it was probably an atmosphere that you haven't experienced ever before.
Yeah, I mean, like Craven Cottage, like in London, is also just very special. Like all the Sunderland fans, like singing on the way to the stadium. It was like, it was a very much like Green Street Hooligans feel. Like it was
Nice.
just like it was very surreal at the time. Like if I could go back, it was kind of going through the motions. Like
Hmm.
everything's happening around you, everyone's singing and going, "Hooray, lads!" Like clapping and like going nuts. It's I just kept looking around me like I was like outside my body watching it happen. It was
Wow.
something. If you're an American soccer fan, obviously MLS, a lot of places have amazing, soccer atmosphere. Portland, Seattle, for example, and many others. Those are just top of my head. But if you want to get like the true like soccer experience, I mean, there's nothing better than like uh, in England. It's unbelievable. I'm sure like Germany with like the Der Klassiker and all those teams go crazy, but like for me, like England is unmatched.
Marco, would you if you were to go to a Sunderland Fulham match, would you go without a second thought?
Oh hell yeah. I'd go to any of them. Anything that's in England or it's soccer related in England, I'd say hell yeah. I don't care if it's the eighth division. I mean, the passion is there. You know that you're gonna have a good time regardless of what division you're gonna go see. Of course, you want to go see the first ones, the first or championship. But I mean, any soccer game is gonna be fun as long as it's in England.
So speaking about teams in England, this is where we're going to put you in the hot seat, Kevin, and I hope you give us your takes. I hope you give us what you really truly believe. So knowing that you're a gunner, and I would say a dedicated gunner at that, because I think you deserve full credit for getting an Arsenal tattoo, which I think is really cool, at least personally. Where do you see Arsenal are headed at? Like, where are Arsenal headed with Arteta? I know you've spoken about this at length on your own podcast. Um, I don't want you to necessarily repeat yourself, but looking at this international break, that kind of just like cut the form for every team. Thinking about it as kind of like a cold restart, where do you see Arteta taking your Gunners?
Well, we've kind of taken a recent break on lads. Like we haven't recorded an episode like with me and Martin in over a week, so we didn't really
Mm-hmm.
get a chance to talk about the fallout of like Aston Villa, Arsenal.
Mm.
Um, and I always know it's a bad sign for a club when you're hoping for the international break to come.
Yeah.
So when Arsenal got bludgeoned by, don't get me wrong, like uh, Aston Villa is a solid club this year. I mean, obviously what they did to Liverpool 7-2, unbelievable. Jack Grealish is the real deal. Like he is the real deal this year. He solidified himself with Ross Barkley in that side. It is Villa's real. Like no one, they're like the Wolves last year. No one should be underestimating him going into any match, especially any top six, because all the top six is all over the place right now. But what I think Arteta has done really well, he's gotten a lot of great pieces. I think Partey was the fact that we got him was an amazing pickup. But there has been some letdowns, like Pepe. What are we doing with him? Martinelli's kind of fallen off. Saliba, he's had some personal issues, but I feel like the culture at Arsenal has changed definitely for the better. And I think Unai kind of like dragged along the Arsene Wenger like depression for a bit. Unai
Okay.
reinvigorated for a bit, but that Arsene Wenger like soft boy away Arsenal kind of lingered even through Unai Emery. Or I think Arteta, a real player that some of these players have even probably played against or played with. There's a bit of respect there, which I think is there, and especially under the tutelage of Pep, he has shown himself to show up in the big game, FA Cup finals, for example, against Frank Lampard and stuff like that. Another manager who he's going to be always compared to with his peer, such as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. All these young managers, he's going to be, right there. We're going to do tier list of new young managers. So I feel I'm more optimistic with him than Unai Emery. I mean, who wouldn't be? But it's a bad sign when I was like, I really need the international break to end, because defensively we're still very bad. Gabriel has been a great signing for us. I can't deny that. He has been definitely the bright spot of that Arsenal backline, but there's still tons of issues. Tierney's nice, Bellerin's looking better, but it just doesn't seem like they are a cohesive, solid group compared to where they actually feel like a family or a team.
Do you feel like looking at, I guess, sharing your for the first time, which I appreciate that we're able to catch your reactions after this Aston Villa results. Are you part of the camp that I've seen, at least online, that many Arsenal fans are kind of the same mind, where there's a big creative player hole in the team? Do you think that is something that needs to be addressed?
Yes, and I feel like he's maybe sitting on the bench. No, I'm just kidding. The whole Mesut Ozil, debate. I've been kind of out on Ozil, the past year itself,
Mm-hmm.
and him being, the highest paid Twitter user right now is a bit ridiculous. But he is good on Twitter. He is great on social media. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, we need a cam. We need a central attacking midfielder bad. I think James Rodriguez would have been a great get for Arsenal. And I feel like I think that was a huge miss on our side.
Well, Marco's cringing right now. Marco's cringing. He's cringing up.
Say what you want, but I mean, what Everton got him for is nothing. Like, if we're really looking at it about how they started the season. So it feels as though we're still missing that central attacking mid since Özil has become a ghost for our club, since he went and got 19 assists and then fell off a cliff in one season. So there has been some rumors. I mean, I feel as though Ceballos is nice, but I feel like he needs that central attacking mid to be really, really at the top of his game. So like, he's more of like, could be like a David Silva to a Kevin De Bruyne, which we don't have. So it just feels like there's a lack of creativity. The front line doesn't know what to do. Aubameyang's being played on the wing when should be played down the middle. It just feels like there's a lot of things being forced at Arsenal right now because they don't have that cam. And I think you're absolutely right.
True. I've told the guys, and I know they have the same opinion. It's very much a waste to have Oba on the left, because as soon as teams find out that when they shut down that left side and they take Oba and Tierney out of the match, that Arsenal team doesn't have much going forward. They've been pretty solid defensively, which is something to actually recognize that they're doing. But a lot of people have taken that to kind of like hit them on the top of the head with, kind of like just bonk them for being a team that sits back. Like, that's like the joke now, I guess. But seeing this international break, there's also, if I'm not mistaken, I think the report that Elneny now has returned a positive COVID test along with Salah. How do you see I guess overall on the Premier League with the situation on the break and COVID? How do you think the Prem should focus its efforts to kind of like continue the season?
Right. I mean, this has been a great talking point throughout I wouldn't say great in terms of positive, but I mean, it's been a massive talking point throughout the whole year, is how do we handle COVID? Get rid of the international break. I mean, luckily enough, this is the last one for 198 days or something like that, 130. I think it's like 4 months or so. There's a long span where we won't have to deal with this till March, which I'm very grateful for. I think it's greed on the part of FIFA, which makes me irrationally angry that they would go to these lengths just to, force thousands of miles of travel when we know there is a global pandemic going on. I think it's selfish. They're talking about, what's best for the players, saying like all these things when they're doing the exact opposite. Now, back to your original question, what should be done? I mean, if we looked about how Project Restart went with the Premier League in the start of this new season, it's been phenomenal. I mean, obviously the transfer market kind of, when the transfer window opened up for the summer or late summer, there were some issues. Like obviously Thiago got COVID coming over from Bayern. Like there were some issues, but it was very successful for the most part at the beginning. Now we start seeing the holes, we start seeing the cracks in the dam and the water starting to leak. Because why? Because of these international breaks. They're so unnecessary. um Obviously they have to have these qualifiers. Like obviously it was a really nice story where Scotland got in and now they get to play England in the Euros. I love that. But at what cost? At some point we do know who are the best teams internationally. We don't have to do these qualifiers and kind of like they can just wait. And if we had a system that was working before, why break that? Why break something that's not broken? So for me, I feel as though go back to what we were doing. I felt as though from Project Restart and from the beginning of the Premier League season till the international break, we were having zero COVID cases compared to what's going on with the American sports going on here in our own
Yeah.
country.
Yeah. I think those are very solid points. Marco, I know that you were kind of in the same boat about just eliminating international break because it's getting a bit out of hand.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't understand why they're doing it. I mean, I understand the what is it called, the Nations League,
Yes,
whatever that's
yes,
Yeah,
called.
yes.
Nations League,
That one,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, I understand that it's a qualifier, perfectly fine. But the friendlies, there's unnecessary. Take out the friendlies, get the players through this Nations League or whatever it's called, and then send them back home. Like, you don't have to do the friendlies, man. Those are the ones that players can get injured easily, can get COVID. They're traveling millions of miles or thousands of miles, sorry. And for what? For a
Yeah,
friendly? For
yeah.
for
And
them to get injured? Come on.
in most cases we're seeing not just the COVID test, but the injuries that are also putting a lot of these players out. We saw Chilwell that was out with the back spasm. Robertson also getting injured for Liverpool. I think Tierney as well was also kind of like
Yes.
flagged for a minute. I'm not sure how he's doing with his injury. So yeah, it's a bit of, I guess, doom and gloom with the international break, but hopefully things can come back to normal. As far as 2020 is concerned, the normal of 2020, and then the league can start again. What would you say? I guess since Martin isn't here, I'll also pick your brain really quickly. Well, where do you see Martin's favorite club? Where do you see United going? So I asked you where Arsenal are headed. Where do you see United at right now? So they've been in a limbo pretty much for the last 5-6 years. Where are United at? Have they improved or have they been in the same spot? What do you think?
Yeah, that's I feel as though I'm going to be more optimistic than Martin is. Martin is he's a huge pessimistic in life in general. I love the guy to death, but he's a very cup half empty kind of guy. So if I were to say where I personally believe Manchester United is going, I feel like Martin feels as though like he's all over the place. He feels like it's a roller coaster. Like one week we're beating
Mhm.
PSG, we're beating the heck out of the Champions League. The next week, we're losing the Crystal Palace, where he can't make ends meet of it. Because on paper, Manchester United is a solid team. If you look around that dressing room, there is so much talent on Manchester United. Um, and I feel like a lot of people come to the defense of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I feel like he needs to be held to more responsibility. But then, a lot of the fans will go and be like, "Oh, well, the board aren't supporting him enough" and stuff like that. But I just felt as though Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't the right choice before. I still don't think he is now. He's had some great results and he's been a lot of fun, but it hasn't really turned up to be anything. I thought he was very lucky to get into the top four last year. It wasn't more United being good, but other teams fucking up. You know what I mean? Like I felt as though
Sure.
like there's a bunch of matches where I just feel like he gets just like the Arsenal match. I just felt like it was just two like completely different levels of managers at that point. So I think it might come to the manager. It might come to personnel changes, like getting Pogba out. Could it be, trying to rely more on the youth? I really like Greenwood. Obviously, Marcus Rashford is class. There is a lot of great talent at Manchester United. I just don't know if it's being managed correctly.
I think that's a pretty solid take. I have a feeling that if Martin were here, he would be cutting you off and telling you that things are dire and start ringing alarm bells and everything. But you did say and to kind of just transition it very quickly, you did mention Everton a little bit earlier because you wanted to speak about Everton. I know Marco is starting to straighten his back because he's ready for the blasphemy that he's about to get in his earshot.
I mean,
Where do you see Everton? Everton were world beaters the first four matches. They go into the international break with 3 L's back to back to back. Marco has been the one that has, I guess, propagated the opinion of James just not being good enough. Well, what's your take on Everton and Ancelotti, Kevin?
Well, massive Carlo Ancelotti, big fan of the brow. Don't get me wrong. The guy is honestly, at this point in the year of 2020, I feel as though he's underrated. I feel like people aren't realizing the history and the majesty of this man and what he did in the past. So, for starters, everyone go look up Carlo Ancelotti and his achievements. The man is up there with the Peps, the Mourinhos, and now the Klopps. So don't sleep on that man's name. Second, Everton obviously hot out the gate, and I feel like it's kind of like, I guess to do like an American sports comparison would be like a new team in NFL with a new quarterback. They don't know how his system runs. They don't know what this new shape of a team's going to run because there's not enough tape on them to understand how this team is formed, how they play, and how they go forward. I feel as though after the first 5 matches of the Premier League, this James Rodriguez, Digne, Carlson, they were flowing. Calvert-Lewin playing out of his mind. No one could really understand this Everton, but enough time had went by. Injuries start to pile up with James, Digne, and for Carlson obviously being out for the red card. The wheels started to fall off a little bit. So I feel like Everton has been humbled, but I feel like they're no team to sleep on, especially now that with rest over the international break. I feel like Everton are gearing up to come back strong as they did in the beginning of the Premier League.
That's hot. Marco, you're holding your breath, man.
I mean, not really. I mean, look, I said it in the past one. I think that Everton does have a chance. I don't know. When it comes to James Rodriguez, that's the key with me. I don't.
Just say it, Marco.
Again,
just say it.
Bro.
Just say
we're
it,
going
bro.
back to it. It's a 6 out of 10 to me. Look, the thing is that I saw him at Real Madrid. I saw him when he left to Bayern, and now that he's at Everton, I know what he's capable of. It's just that what he's not capable of is being consistent. But Ancelotti is the only coach that he has actually shown this type of ability that he has. But because of his inconsistency, he is also the only coach that will take him and keep him, because he brought him to Real Madrid. Ancelotti left. Ancelotti went to Bayern. He brought him to Bayern. Ancelotti left Bayern. Where did James go? He went back to Real Madrid. Now he's at Everton. Who brought him to Everton? Ancelotti. Ancelotti is the only one that understands him and is willing to take the whole, he's going to be there for some games and not for others. But as long as the squad is complete with Richarlison, with their left back, I can't remember his name.
That's Digne with Digne. Yeah.
Digne. With Allen and Calvert-Lewin. As long as he has that full squad that he had at the beginning of the season, I can see them progress. But the minute one of them drops because of injury, because of a red card, because of anything, the whole team will just go down. The way that they went down when Richarlison got his red cards.
Hey, you gotta tell us, Kevin. Honestly, does it just sound like Marco sipping the haterade? Does it really?
No, I really think he's onto something there when it comes that James Rodriguez is one of those players that everything needs to be perfect around him for him to flourish. I feel as though there are other clubs such as Liverpool or Man City, or other the clubs in the big 5 leagues, that can survive and even do well and push forward without their marquee players. Where Liverpool, if Salah is hurt, Mane will come up and like be strong for them. If it's Man City, Aguero's hurt, Raheem Sterling, the list goes on. Gabriel Jesus, doesn't matter. Someone will step up, where I feel as though Everton are not there yet, where they don't have the mentality or the chemistry or the team mentality to, even if one of their marquee mainstay players are hurt, that they could get and win that result that they normally wouldn't win without them. So I think I think he's onto something there. Yeah.
Marco, take that and run, man. He just gave you credit
I
for the
booked
6 out of 10 take. I'm not sure how Eric would probably react to that. I guess the argument now is, well, at least what it has been over the last season and a half, I would say, one of the biggest factors that a lot of people have had a gripe about, and we ask a lot of the guests that we have on our show, on our pod, is, Kevin, what is your take on VAR in the Premier League? And it's always that face. It's always that face. And I know my man is ready to unload. My man is ready with both barrels. What's your take on VAR? Or what is the Lads podcast stance on the implementation of video assistant refereeing in the Premier League?
Is, are you pro or against? Because that's basically, that says a lot.
Okay, so the letter of the law that is VAR, I am for. Anything to make the game more accurate, why wouldn't anybody want that? Yes, in layman terms, like, you want the game to be as accurate as possible. No one wants inaccuracies. That's what VAR is supposed to cure. Now, the actual implications of VAR with human error, with these nimrods, don't let me support that. I was the first person on Lads. Martin is super anti-VAR from the beginning. And now I have to agree with my co-host. This guy who I don't want to, I was against him from the go, saying like, no, Martin, like, you're an idiot. No, VAR is going to be great for the Premier League. Look at all the other leagues. They're handling it so well. And all the other leagues seem to be doing it so well. But in the Premier League, it is a bunch of monkeys throwing wrenches around in a tiny room. It is, it is insanity. It is, sorry. So I don't really have given you a clear answer, but what I'm trying to tell you is it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Nobody knows what the hell is going on with the VAR, what needs to happen. I feel as though the commentators get it right more often, or I mean, 100% more often than the actual paid referees who that's their actual job to do. It's crazy to me. And if I were to give my current stance, I would say I'm still pro the idea of VAR, kind of like, so like like socialism. Like, the idea sounds great, but like currently in practice, it has been fucking horrid in the Premier League.
Yes, that's a good one.
Now the question is, does Martin pull out the card of "I told you so"?
Oh, every time.
Okay, all right.
Every
so it's not only Eric then, because every time VAR conversation is, what did I say? I mean, you asked for it. You wanted VAR. There you go. Next thing you're gonna see is a flying, and I'm like, it's gonna become football and pauses.
Yeah, Eric on our bench swears that it's going to become NFL, where managers are going to be given challenge flags, like 3 per match, so that they can contest calls that they think didn't go their way, which is especially doomsday of him to probably say. Do you agree with things like the armpit offsides?
Oh, like what happened with Bamford
and what? Like what happened with Bamford and Mane?
That was, yes, both of those are atrocious. There needs to be like, and honestly, I'm kind of biased because Arsene Wenger is already on this mission. He's trying to rewrite all the rules of FIFA. Love that man. Some of them, it's just old man Wenger shouting into the sky. But there needs to be a clear definition of the rules. And currently there is not, especially the handball rule, which is absolutely absurd right now. Is it the intention? Is it the weird body motion? There has been too many handballs given this year for definitely, like, there's nothing the player could have possibly done. Like, he's trying to stick out a leg. He's not going to put his arms next to him like a penguin and not not stick out his legs. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think needs to be a clear cut rewrite of all the rules of the FA, and it needs to be handled by former players, people who've actually played the game, and would have experience with that. So I feel like there is just, after the season's over, I mean, I think that there's already been a record-breaking number of penalties this year already in the season compared to seasons prior. So I get it. Like, it's good for me as a degenerate gambler, like, for betting the over, great, but not great for the actual, like, beautiful game. So
listen, if you are able to fly a banner over the stadiums with one simple message, what would it be, Kevin?
Ooh, well, Wenger's gone, so it can't be Wenger out anymore. So if I were going to fly a banner over a stadium, I'd be like, cancel VAR. I feel like that's too cliche. Is Burnley real? Question mark.
Oh yes, it's really real.
Yeah, they're not a real club. I don't think I've ever seen them play. I just know about Sean Dyche and his worm eating.
Yes.
I don't know. I'd be like, Pep bald real? Like, I don't know. I feel like he can really grow hair, but he won't do it. His old Barcelona days, I feel like he's like a psychopath, like Skirtle, who actually shaves his head. Like,
Yes.
he's not bald.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen those memes too. I've seen those memes. Well, what is one thing then, kind of switching gears, if you had the capability to address everyone, let's say every single Prem footy fan that is out in existence, you have the ultimate soapbox. What is one thing that you would try to explain to them that people seem to misunderstand about Arsenal fans?
We're really innocent. We're just, we're very like, we're definitely very annoying and very loud, and we feel very like privileged to have lived during like the recent invincible years, which are now counting 16 years now since last time we won a Premier League title. Just know that we're pretty harmless. Like, I feel as though a lot of people take us too seriously. Don't, like, not in like, that we're not a good club or anything like that, but as like a personality in terms of
Right.
Twitter or like Arsenal fan TV, it's really just a much show. I think if I was going to address people and let them know about like Arsenal, like, we're actually like really good, kind-hearted like fans, like, compared to other fan bases who are more toxic or stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that much about other fan bases besides from the memes, so I can't speak to them. I'm just speaking like the Arsenal fans. I've had nothing but positive. Maybe because I am one, but like I feel as though like we get a bad judge of being like pretty spiteful. I don't think so.
I like that. My man is out here adjudicating for the innocent Arsenal fan. I like that.
Yeah.
You mentioned memes. I know memes is something that lads is a very specialized sector for you guys. So, what is the like? How does lads go about selecting the things to put up? Is it something that's very like haphazard, whatever sticks, or is there like is there a science to this? What determines which of like the hottest memes on the internet make it onto the lads Instagram feed?
It depends. Which is a great question because we've been memeing quite a bit for a while now, and we've been decent at it. I don't know. Like, I usually go through Twitter because 99% of our posts are from Twitter, and we kind of find like what are the trending Twitter posts going on at the time, or other soccer page accounts that are very popular, say in the UK, that like people in America wouldn't normally be able to see,
Right.
because they're mostly followed by people in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I try and tread the lines of like what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. Sometimes like there are memes that I would get because like I watch a lot of British comedy and like British culture. I'm very like the In-Betweeners, for example, for people who do British comedies, or and I kind of understand that there are some things that will not, because 90% of our audience is American. If I start talking about like, weather spoons or Nando's or
Nando's,
things that are very British, most people aren't going to understand what I'm saying, or some certain slang. So some of those times I will look at this and I'll be like, oh, that's very funny. And I get why this is trending over there in the UK. It won't do well on our page. So that's sometimes I will not do that. And what I usually try to do is try and be fair. Like, I tell everyone, people will comment on our page, be like, oh, this page just hates Liverpool. Oh, this page. I love when people say this page hates Arsenal. Like, the admin is an Arsenal fan. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, people are like, this guy hates Arsenal so much. Like, dude, like, I hate myself. Like, I do not hate Arsenal. And so I just try to let everyone know that everybody can get it. Like, Doesn't matter what fan base you are, what club you belong to, you'll probably get made fun of. It's all jokes. It's all for fun. People take this way too seriously for a club for their team that's 3,000 miles away in England when you're here in America. So
Yeah.
I would say that we try and mix up the content. We've been doing more video stuff. But I stopped doing as many highlight videos because I've been getting copyrighted too much on Instagram because, Fox Sports or NBC, they'll
Yeah,
copyright.
yeah. The MCAs suck, man.
And then I almost get the account shut down. And then I'm like, oh, like there goes all this years of hard work, you know?
Yeah.
But it depends. I just pick whatever's matches going on. I try and post a lot while a big match. If it's like Man City versus Liverpool, I'll try and post like all the trending things going on in that during the time. And then during the international break, it'll usually just be like, I'll look up like funny stories about like Maradona doing coke in a basement with like Pablo Escobar. Like, oh, people
So you're here setting the record straight. This is not an anti-Arsenal page, guys.
Yes, I am a full Arsenal fan. Some people now joke in knowing that I am an Arsenal fan, and when I do post something pro Arsenal, they're like, "Oh, of course he did." I'm like, dude, 2 days ago I talked about how Arteta should be losing his job. Like, stop.
Listen, it's something that we had alluded to before recording. It's something that even Eric has also pointed out about trying to guess, who you guys were fans of, because like everybody gets hit, and that shit hurts, man. That shit hurts.
I will say it does feel better when I do Man U because I know it hurts Martin. So that does. I will say I'm a bit biased there.
we all have our guilty pleasures. It's all right, Kevin. You're the ones that are in charge of the podcast and the page. So, Kevin, this is nearing the end of our episodes. We do appreciate, as Benchwarmers, all the work that you guys do over on Lads. What is one thing that you would tell us as far as what you feel the word Benchwarmers means to you?
Ooh, it's hard not to think of the Rob Schneider movie. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just a very massive fan of that movie. It's so bad, but so good.
Yeah, you hate to you hate to love it.
Yes, exactly. But Benchwarmers, I feel like has a bad rap to it, like the word itself, like as though it's like, oh, you're warming the bench for the starter or whatever. Those guys on the bench couldn't come off that bench and win you a game. Let me tell you about a man named Origi. Let me tell you about a few different players who have come off that bench, who've kept it nice and warm for 80 till the 88th minute, and who have come on and made a difference. Now, I feel as though Benchwarmers should have a positive ring in people's minds for that very fact that they can make a difference, and they're just sitting in the back waiting for their chance.
I like that. Listen, that's the soundbite, Marco. That's it. That's the soundbite from Kevin, man. We're gonna hold on to that.
Cut.
It's something that we ask a lot of people that come onto our podcast to come onto the show, and we think it's really interesting how the takes they vary a lot, but usually in the case of what it means, we see ourselves the same. As Benchwarmers, we don't take ourselves too seriously. We're not here to be pundits. We're not here to take over ESPN or whatever. We're just fans of the game that are passionate, and we love our clubs. We love our clubs enough to know enough to keep talking about it forever, which is why podcasting is a platform that lets us share our voice, and as fellow Benchwarmers, we want to bring other people onto the bench like yourselves over here at Lads to share your voice and let everyone know what you guys are all about. So this is the end of our episode. I'd like to thank everyone who has so far tuned in to our conversation with the magisterial Kevin Pettit, not to be confused with Emmanuel Petit, even though he was probably going to petition to change the pronunciation of it soon. Before we end the episode, though, Kevin, where can you tell everyone that's listened in and tuned in to find you guys, the Lads?
Yeah, thank you again for having me. This has been a lot of fun. You guys are amazing, and I really look forward to having you guys on our show and coming back on with Martin. But if you want to find Lads, you can find us on the Spotify, iTunes, all the podcast hosting place, Loud Americans Discussing Soccer, or you can just put in Lads. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Lads Podcast. It should pop up. So yeah, no, thank you so much.
that's I think it was great to have you here, Kevin. I know Marco enjoyed giving you his 6 out of 10 James Rodriguez take. We hope to get Martin on here soon. We think you guys are two awesome lads. And as we wrap up this episode, we just like to remind everyone that we are the Benchwarmers. This is the bench with a voice, where the bench is always warm. Peace, everyone.